What's going on, guys? Welcome back. Bob with More Than Spores, and in today's episode I'm going to teach you how to make a monotub. It's a pretty simple concept, but there are a couple kickers, and if you don't know how to do it right, it can be a giant pain in the ass. So I'm going to show you how to measure everything out. I'm going to show you how to make the holes, which we are going to be using a blowtorch to melt the holes rather than using a drill, because using a drill is going to crack any sort of plastic container you're going to use. And we are even going to put multiple layers of tape on there so that when it's ready to introduce fresh air exchange, it's as simple as pulling one piece of tape off and then you're on to the next stage. So with that, let's start measuring. Before we go into measuring, I just want to show you the materials we're going to need. So we need our tub. You always want a tub with a clear lid. I like this tub in particular. It's a Sterilite. It's 16.5 inches long by 13 inches wide and 7 inches deep. For me personally, it's perfect for 3 pounds of your colonized grain spawn and a 3.5 pound of bulk substrate. We're also going to need a ruler. I've already marked off the major marks we need, which is 3 inch, 3.5, and 4.5. We need a Sharpie, a non-permanent marker, our Gorilla tape, painter's tape, paper tape. We also need our blowtorch. And what I've done here is you need an oven mitt and a 1/2 inch bolt. I make these regularly, so I have just basically taken a rubber oven mitt, cut it off, and taped around it. So this is just kind of like my tool I use, but same concept. We also need scissors, and if you have some parchment paper laying around, that's great too. So let's start measuring. We're first going to measure our tape line, and we're going to measure that right at 3 inches. So we'll just take our permanent marker, put a couple of dots or dashes all the way around, and then we'll connect those. It may be wise to take a look at the diagram before we start, just so you know where the holes are going to go. So, we want a total of 8 holes. We want 2 4.5 inch holes right here on the long side, and then 1 3.5, and then 1 3.5 on the skinnier side. So, I'm just going to eyeball the height, or I'm sorry, the width rather. So right around there, right around there, right around there. Easy to mark there. And then these we're going to want to be 4.5. This one's going to be the 3.5. This is going to be a 3.5. Now that we have that, I'll just go ahead and put our permanent marker dot right there. We're going to be melting those in. And now everything's measured out. Now that everything is marked in permanent marker, we can go ahead and wipe off the fault marker we had. And the first thing we're going to do is tape all around. Now the reason we are putting black tape on the bottom is to stop from side pinning. And what side pinning is that is when you have little baby mushrooms that grow underneath and it's just asking for contamination. So as soon as they grow and you can't get to them, especially when you don't notice them, that is when contamination becomes a factor pretty much immediately. So that is the reason that we put this black tape and we basically black out the entire bottom half of it. All right, and now I'm just going to go ahead and cover up the rest of this with tape and black the rest out. Now you can also use spray paint if you'd like. The only issue I have found with spray paint is as you use the tub, after you've used it, 3, 4, 5 times, it starts to flake off and it becomes kind of a pain in the butt. So I would just use tape, because if you're using Gorilla Tape, this is never going to come off. Maybe not never, but it is going to withstand a whole lot more than black paint would. It takes about 8 strips to cover the entire bottom, and then we'll go around one more time. Make sure it's nice and tight. I like to have my tape, my strips already laid out in front of me so I can make this really, really easy and quick. And one more should do it. Oops. Perfect. And then I am going to go around the width side one more time. Sure you press down firm everywhere, and there we go. All right, now that we have everything taped and our holes marked, it is time to melt some holes. Definitely be careful because this is going to get red hot. I decided to switch out my butane torch for a larger one. Save some of your guys' time. It should take about 30-40 seconds to get nice and red hot. I'm thinking maybe by the time I will show you what happens if you don't do this and you use a drill. Actually, you know what? I am going to, because why not? I can't even tell you how many tubs I've ruined trying to use a drill. This is the way to do it all day long. See, that's starting to get nice and hot. That little glow. Leaving there a little bit longer. And if you get it hot enough, it should be a real quick, easy in and out. All right, let's do it. You might want to open some windows because it will get smoky, that's for damn sure. In fact, I should have taken the top off, so that's fine. I'll do it right after. We have to use ice purple alcohol anyway, so it's all good. And please, please, please be careful because this is hot. I have burned myself before. It is not a fun time. There we go. The last step is to tape. So we're going to start with our white tape. Just going to go and put a little piece of tape across every hole. White paper tape. I'll show you why we are doing this at the very end before we grab a drill and start ruining a tub. Now it's time for our painter's tape. Now this paper tape allows it to breathe. So if you see my other videos, once you've had your mixture in there and you have about 80% colonization on top, you want to introduce airflow exchange. And in order to do that, you are going to be pulling this tape off. So we're going to put this in first so that this will go right over top, and just one less step you have to do during the process. So this is kind of nice. I've learned a little trick. Now you could just rip it off into pieces like that, but that just doesn't work for me. So we need 8 pieces. Use parchment paper. I am very attention to detail, and you probably will be as well if you've been doing this long enough. Eventually, why not take the extra time? So then with the blue tape, you should be able to peel it right off like that. You go over it, and you're not going to want to press down in the middle. You're going to want to just press down on the sides, just so you get a nice seal there. Do that with all the holes. Press real firm around the edges. Yeah, parchment paper, it's a nice little trick. It works really well. And there we have it. And the reason we do the double layer tape and we do it the way I just showed is as soon as we decide we want fresh air exchange, we should be able to just pop that off. And boom. Just one less option of contamination, or option for contamination. Possibility for contamination, whatever. Anyway, there we go. Beautiful. And there we have it. The reason we're doing the double layer of tape is as soon as we get about 75–80% colonization on top, we want to introduce fresh air exchange, and it's as simple as just peeling off top layer, and if you do it right, boom. It's just one less step instead of having to take it off and then introduce another roll of tape and tape it afterwards. It's just it's just adding more risk for contamination. So if you do it this way, your risk of contamination is even lower than it was before, which is awesome. So I think there's only one last thing to do. Let's just see what happens when I use a drill. Now, I found that you could usually get about 6 of the 8 holes are gonna work out pretty well, but then you're gonna get that snap, and that snap is going to ruin your entire tub. All right, well that didn't take long. That's what happens if you use a drill. Luckily I used an old tub, give it a couple tries. So I got those 2 holes right, but yep, eventually you're just gonna snap it right in. Oh, and also, this one I use paint on instead of tape the entire bottom. And you can see I've used this probably about 5 or 6 times, and you can see how the paint scrapes off eventually. So that's why I suggest just using tape over the entire bottom. Anyway, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I appreciate it. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and share my information with all of your friends on any blogs. Definitely trying to get my brand out there, trying to grow. Come to my website, morethanspores.com. Take a look at my products. We have some new stuff coming. And of course, if you have any questions or have any suggestions for future videos, just shoot me an email at support-team@morethanspores.com. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you next time.